Hey, you're listening to Stop the Scroll, a social media marketing podcast, and I'm your host, Heidi Schmidt. I'm a social media strategist and agency owner with over 15 years of marketing experiences helping businesses grow online. We'll be diving into what you need to know so that you can show up confidently online without the overwhelm. Get your notebook ready to jot down some amazing marketing gems, and let's dive into it. Welcome back to another episode of Stop the Scroll. I am your host, Heidi Schmidt, and today I wanted to talk about something that was on my mind for a lot of January, and it started with this email that I got. It was literally January 13th, and the timing was so perfect. And, Carla Basinger, I read her newsletter every flippin' day, every flippin' time she sends it out, hers is one of my must-reads, especially her Monday marketing memo. And so the email was how do you show on her question? And I'm going to read it verbatim. And this is her. This is not me, but it was timely for me. And now that we're more than halfway through February, I feel like I can kind of reflect back and share some of my takeaways and talk about how we show up authentically when, it feels like our world is on fire all around us. If we're living through a shit show, which I feel like we kind of are on a macro level. She said, how can I show up online, make myself relatable, and not feel like a total shit show, or am I dirty laundry? And overall, in her newsletter, and if you want to read it, I'm happy to forward it to you. I thought it was super powerful, and literally it came the Monday after there was a death in my family. My mother's longtime partner passed away of pancreatic cancer because cancer is a flippin' bitch, and F cancer, so much F cancer. I'm actually going to link to a friend of mine. Her daughter was diagnosed with her second type of cancer end of January. And I'm going to link to her GoFundMe because this sweet girl is 14 years old and has the battle of a lifetime that she's embarking on, and F cancer. That's all I have to say about January. If I say any more, I'm going to start crying because it's just all awful. So right after this newsletter came out, literally her email hit my inbox the day after my mother's partner passed away. So I was feeling all the feelings. And then at the end of the month, I spoke to a masterclass for one of my clients about how we show up authentically in our businesses. And for me, it was timely because how do you show up authentically when you're in the midst of just all the shit? When you're feeling all the feelings and you don't feel like showing up, and what I said was, we as business owners need to give ourselves grace. Here's the thing. We know that Instagram is a highlight reel. We know that all of social media is a highlight reel. We've had trends that are social media is a highlight reel. Many, many moons ago, that was a post that I remember posting on my Instagram, and actually, let me see if I can find it, and I will share with you what I wrote. Because, social media is a highlight reel, and we, as business owners, pick and choose what we show and what we don't show. And sometimes we don't show. What's missing is that relatable content, if that makes sense. So I posted, it was sometime in early April, and I said, let's talk about the unpretty side of social media, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I shared about how, as a business owner, for me, it's really hard to take time off. I don't have a number two. I have recently, thanks to multiple business coaches that I've worked with, started delegating my team to send content to clients. I'm taking myself out of the content approval process. Now, I still have a few clients that I am managing that I don't have content creators on, and eventually I want an account manager. I'm not there yet, but I have a hard time turning off and an even harder time trusting someone to manage things in my absence because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I'm not going to lie. I said that I've had a really hard time marketing myself. Me starting this podcast was me throwing myself out there. This was back in April of 2024, and I gained a lot of weight during the pandemic. And one of the things that I think we need to talk about more is how our body image prevents us, and maybe I'll find a guest who can talk about this. I have someone in mind. how our overall body image and how we feel about ourselves and our self-confidence helps us show up. And I'm not just saying showing up, but like if you hate how your body looks and you don't want to show up in pictures and everyone's telling you got to show your face, you got to show your face, you got to show your face, like it's really hard to get over that hurdle. It is really, really hard. We don't talk, and we do talk about the comparison trap. I think I've done an episode on this before. If I can remember which one, I'll link to it in the show notes. But I said in this post, I don't have a marketing degree. I often fall down the comparison trap and wonder how other successful social media managers manage to keep their client-ish together, post every day, and then I wonder if I'm cut out for this whole agency owner life. And that is a very real thing. And I felt that probably more than ever in January. And I overthink my content. I overthink everything that I do. Like, I have a workshop coming up this Friday. It's virtual. You missed the in-person. That was last week. I didn't get the signups that I wanted, at least the in-person one. And I felt a lot of, I'm not going to say imposter syndrome, but definitely questioned myself and, hey, do I even know how to message myself if I can't even get people to sign up for this thing? And there is so much imposter syndrome, and so many people just don't talk about that. And we need to remember that more than anything, one, it's okay to share the shit that we go through. It's okay. Instagram doesn't always need to be a highlight reel. And that's kind of one of the things that I think makes TikTok and the creators on the space so incredibly special is that they are unfiltered. Largely. I mean, everyone still has a filter. You don't have to show social media whatever you don't want to show. But life is messy. And even us as business owners, we can give ourselves grace to experience that life, to feel our feelings through the messy. And if it doesn't fit perfectly in your grid, that's okay. So as we give ourselves grace, we need to think about what we need to have in place in our businesses to account for these times. I feel very lucky in that from when my mother's partner passed away, and lucky is probably a terrible, terrible word for this, but I had a couple of weeks to prepare for our trip north. So I had a couple of weeks to batch my content, to schedule content out, to get the team up to snuff to just send content to my clients, and to batch things for my clients that I'm still batching content for, so that it wasn't a huge, I'm not going to say imposition, but it wasn't a huge stressor for me. The biggest stress for me was taking my child out of school for 3 days. And if you know me, my child has some learning disabilities, and he's a gem of a human. But as a parent, when you worry about your child falling behind because they're already behind, it's a bigger issue. And, we won't talk about the implications of if the Department of Education gets shut down here. We won't talk about that. But it will have some very real impacts on many, many people. And if you don't feel those impacts, or if you don't think that they matter, you're not my people. But I also, one of the things that I said to this masterclass, and I'm going to kind of go back to that, is we as business owners, we choose when and how we show up. And we choose what that highlight reel is, And for me, in January, I look back on it and it's like, okay, could I have pushed harder for more signups to my workshop? Could I have maybe done some A/B testing on the landing page? Probably. But ultimately, I set a Facebook ad. I got some stuff from that. I got some traffic, and I've got a whole bunch of new followers, which I'm really excited about. And I did a couple of reels, and I showed up when I could, and I tried. I probably have 2 weeks worth of content, the captions, and because I am an overthinker, I just need to record the reels or look back at my old reels because repurposing is a very real thing, and repurposing gives us that ability to show up consistently even when we don't have anything new that we want to say. And that was another thing that I said to this masterclass was, don't be afraid to repurpose things. When life happens, which life does happen to all of us. Loved ones die, things happen, natural disasters happen, as many people in our world know. And we have to give ourselves grace, and we have to give ourselves the space to step away. And that's why having those systems is okay. And one thing that Carla Basinger said was, you don't have to show the shit show when you're in the middle of the storm. Like, if you're in the middle of a storm, like, it's okay for you to step aside and take a break. It's okay for you to block your calendar and not take any discovery calls. It's okay. Your business is not going to fail if you don't post anything for 5 days. If you post nothing for a week, I promise you, your business won't fail. I've done that before. I've not posted. I try to be consistent and post 2 to 3 times a week. Ideally, I'd like to be 5 times a week. But my mental capacity, especially as of late, has been 2 to 3 times a week. Now, one thing that I am trying to get better about is showing up in stories, which I think is where we show that authentic self, where we show the behind the scenes, or maybe we show the messy, the non-highlight reel. It's okay if you take a break. And I want us as business owners to give ourselves permission to do that, because sometimes I feel like we don't. And there is someone who is a part of a mastermind that I am in who I wish I had a quote from her, but she is very anti-hustle culture, and I absolutely love it. And we need to remember that it's not always about the hustle. Especially now, we're in February. We still have 10 more months to hit our annual goals. We still have 10 more months to hit whatever your revenue goal is. It's okay. I didn't hit my revenue goal for January. Maybe I'm not going to hit my revenue goal for February. That's okay. If I maintain from last year, there is still 10 more months for me to put some growth into place. 10 more months. It is A-okay if you did not hit your goals in January or February. And, I'm talking on a micro scale, the things that go on in our personal lives that impact us. We can talk about the macro scale and shit show that is our government right now. I've mentioned before that I am involved in local politics here in Maryland, and it was a sprint for the last 3 months for me. And I feel like I survived. When they say survival mode, that was very much me for the past, especially 2 months. Because in December, I was sick for a solid almost 2 weeks. And so grace. Give yourselves grace. And it's okay to take a break. And it's okay to call in sick. It's okay to take a mental health day. It's okay to block off your afternoon and go take yourself for a manicure or a hike or whatever you need to do to clear your brain and get yourself back in a headspace. Maybe you just need to nap in bed and watch trashy TV. That's okay too. We as business owners deserve space to be human. And I feel like sometimes we forget that, because we're all just pushing and pushing and pushing. And especially we're solopreneurs, it's all on us. So don't be afraid to talk about the relatable. And even if you don't want to show your shit show, which I get it, I get that. Don't be afraid to share the lessons learned after the storm. It's okay to take that space to let the storm pass and to take care of yourself. And again, set up your systems. Find support if you need to, whatever you need to do. And, I kind of knew the writing on the wall with my mother's partner back in December. So I was starting to take space and all that fun stuff, because I wanted to be able to step aside if my mother needed me. Turns out she didn't. Love her, but my mother is not one to ask for things. But we need to remember that even when we have our, if you see your competitors and you're God, they always have it so much together. Guarantee you they don't. Because it's a highlight reel. We choose what we want to share and when we want to share it. And you are entitled to that also. You choose what to share. you choose when to share it. And that's really like, I just wanted to like reflect because that was something that just helped me get through the last month. Like, it was really hard. Like, there were many tears. There was, but now, like, we're halfway through February, which means spring is right around the corner, right? And there's so much, for me at least, that I can look forward to. And I will always, always, always put my clients first. But I also realized in this hot mess of a January, like, hey, I have a team. I can lean on them. In the days after my mother's partner passed, and I kind of mentioned, hey, team, like, I'm going through this thing. If you have any capacity to, like, take on some extra work, please let me know. And they all stepped up. People want to support you. If you have a team, even if you have a VA, like, lean on the supports that you have to help you get through whatever you're going through. Give yourself grace. And it's hard to set up systems when you're in the middle of the storm, but it's a good time to reflect on, like, hey, the next time that I have this massive just upheaval of life, these are the supports that I know that I'm going to need. And these are the adjustments in my business that I need to make so that I can have the space to handle anything else that's going on in our life. So I'm going to leave it there, but I would love to connect. Feel free to drop me a comment, leave a review, follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. And February's been better. We're through the storm. And now we just move forward, right? Not talking about the macro level stuff. We can talk about that another time. But for now, I've got 2 new kittens that just arrived in my home, and I am going to go snuggle the crap out of them. And yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to me, right? Well, this was a little bit of a rambly episode, which is fine. But sometimes you just gotta be real, Like, this is me sharing my unhighlight reel of the messy and the peeling back the layers. Sometimes we have to do that. And this is my relatable content. So if you're feeling lots of feelings about everything that's going on around you, whether it's in your own life or whether it's the world at large, like, know that it's okay to step back. It's okay to take care of yourself. Sometimes we all need that reminder. So go forth and create. Create as much as you have space for. Until next time, thank you for listening.